Question 27 of AFM, right? This question was asked by one of my students who watch my videos. He requested me for this question because he found this question tough the way it is explained in the textbook, right? So he wants me to explain this in a much better way. So I thought of that maybe most of you do have the same doubt. So I thought of sharing this in my YouTube channel rather than just right one to one. So I thought everyone shall benefit from this. So that's why I'm discussing question 27. This question is about mergers and accusation, right? Before I go through the case study, I will first go through the requirements to understand what I have to look for in the case study, right? So as you can see, it's very long. It's a 25 marks question, right? Let us read the three requirements. A, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of acquisition of tiered company from the viewpoint of Louieed company, right? Advantages, disadvantages, viewpoint of Louieed company. This is now very important. When you discuss the advantages and disadvantages, you have to see from whose point of view you are saying it. Is it the acquirer or is it the target company, right? And it's for 6 marks. So it's very clear the 3 marks for advantage and 3 marks for disadvantages. That means you are writing 3 advantages, 3 disadvantages, right? Now, B. Calculate the PE ratios of tiered company implied by the term of Louieed company's initial and proposed offers for all of the three of the above options. That means before there was an initial offer, right? After that, there has been 3 offers, 3 proposed offers. We need to calculate the PE ratios under each of the terms, right? So calculate PE ratios, initial and for all the 3 of the above options, which is for 5 marks, right? And we'll see how the marks have been allocated. We'll see that in the mark scheme. C. Now C is where most of your marks comes from. So you need to be very careful as you go through part C. The reason I am putting up this video is because the answer, the way it has been described in your textbook, I'm in your revision kit, it's quite confusing because they have just written one after the other the numbers. But why that calculation is taken, from where the numbers are taken, why that number has been taken, which from where we have to first start calculating, what is our starting point, you don't know, you will not know it when you see it. I will show you. I have taken the answer also separately and I will be doing my answer separately, right? Now part C, calculate and comment on. So there are 2 requirements. First you have to calculate, then you have to comment, right? Calculate, comment on the funding required for the acquisition of tiered company and the impact on the Louieed company's earnings per share and gearing for each of the 3 options given above. Now when you read this question once, right, it's quite confusing. So you have to break it into pieces and read. Calculate, okay, number 1. Comment, okay, number 2. Funding required for the acquisition, number 3. Impact on the Louieed company's EPS, number 4. And gearing, number 5, right? And that impact on EPS and gearing and the funding required have to be for all the 3 options, not just once. You have to calculate 3 times. That is the key here, what they are telling. That's why just see the marks, right? Your marks has to be justified by the requirements they are asking, right? If they're asking for so many minutes, of course the marks will be more. If they would have to ask for 1, the marks wouldn't have been 14. And note, up to 10 marks are available for calculations. That means only 4 are for your comments. So you need to know how to calculate EPS, you need to know how to calculate gearing, you need to know how to calculate PE ratios, you need to know how to calculate the value, right? This is an accusation scenario. You need to know all those things, right? Impact on Louieed companies, EPS, gearing for all the 3 options, and also the funding required. Whenever you go for an accusation, you need to know how to finance, what are the way of funding, right? So all these things You need to know. When an accusation question is given, you will be asked this type of questions repeatedly, right? Most frequently, this type of questions will be asked from an accusation chapter. The funds required, what is the impact on EPS, what is the impact on gearing, what are the advantages and disadvantages, but the advantages and disadvantages of accusation should not be general. This is they are asking from the viewpoint of Louieed company. Now let's read the case study, right? Two, I'm first going to answer part by part, okay? I'm going to break down this. So I'm not going to read the whole case study. I'm only going to read the case study of till the point where I only need the advantages and disadvantages of accusation, right? So that means I don't need any calculation part, right? So all this number part you can see, I'm not going to read all this. It's not needed. This needed for part B and C. Bid for TDET company, right? So I need this part and I need this part, this paragraph and that paragraph, right? So there are total 4 paragraphs which I need to read for answering my part A question, right? I'm going to quickly read it because there are some very important key points which I need to cover. That's why I have to read this. Otherwise, I would have told you to read it by yourself, right? So Louieed company is a listed company, right? It's a major supplier of what? Educational material, selling its product in many countries. It supplies schools and colleges and also produces learning material for business and professional exams. Looks easy, right? It's very pretty easy from your first 3 lines. Louieed company has exclusive contracts to produce material for some examining bodies. They have a well-defined management structure with formal process for making major decisions. Okay. So what is it? It is a major supplier of educational material. And also it's a listed company. It's very important that it's a listed company. You need to know whether it's unlisted or listed because it's going to have an impact on your EPS and your price earnings ratio. Second paragraph, right? First paragraph, they are basically talking about Louieed company's organizational structure, what they do, their activities and all. Now let's go to the second paragraph. Although Louieed company produces online learning material. So what do they produce? Online learning material. Most of its profits are still derived from sales of traditional textbooks. Louieed company's growth in profits over the last few years has been slow. This is the point you need to know, right? Growth in profits over the last few years has been slow. So when you have to annotate, right? I will teach you how to annotate this. This is a very useful technique. You can even use for other papers also, especially used for SBL, right? But it's high time that I tell you how to use annotate. Wait. So let's see. I have underlined from this paragraph, right? What is the main word is profits going down. Okay, these are just keywords. It has to be very, 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 very short. You're not writing sentences over here. So just you know from that paragraph what's happening. And this is what company L, right? Louieed company. So I'm writing L. L's profits reducing. This is how you have to note. And its directors are currently reviewing its long-term strategy. One area in which they feel that, right? One area in which they feel that Louieed company must become much more involved is the production of online testing material for exams and to validate course and textbook learning. Now let's go for the TTET companies. Louieed company has recently made a bid for Louieed company, a smaller listed company. So this is a smaller listed company. Okay, TTET company also supplies a range of educational material. You can see they're in the same line of business. What does Louieed company? L company makes? They are the major supplier of educational material. Even TTET company supplies a range of educational material. So they're in the same line of business, which will help them. See, here itself you are getting the advantages of accusation. This is one of the biggest advantage, that they're in the same line of business. So it will be easy for them to combine and come together, right? But has been one of the leaders in the development of online testing and has shown strong profit growth over recent years. This is very important, that they have shown strong profit Whereas in L, the profit was declining, the profit growth was slowed, but here, profit is going up. I'm just showing by an arrow, right? They are the leaders in the development of online testing, leaders in online testing. Whereas Louieed company makes major sales from where? From traditional textbooks. From traditional textbooks. Most of its, let me go up to this, most of its profits from sales of traditional textbooks, if you see. But here they are the leader in online testing. So now all of the Louieed company's initial 5 founders remain on its board and still holds 45% of its issued share capital between them. This is another advantage, that all of their initial 5 founders remain on its board. Now, from the start, Louieed company directors have been used to making quick decisions in the areas of responsibility. They are making quick decisions. Another advantage, right? Although listed has imposed some formalities, Louieed has remained focused on acting quickly to gain competitive advantage, with 5 founders continuing to give strong leadership. So there are 5 initial founders who has been there before the accusation, even after the accusation, right? They are continuing to give strong leadership. Now, when you go to the next, just by reading one line itself, I know it's not needed for my advantage and disadvantages. Lloyd Company's initial bid of 5 shares in Louieed for 3 shares in TED was rejected by Louieed Company's board. So all this will be in your part B, where you have to calculate the PE ratio of the initial and the proposed offers. So this is not needed for advantages and disadvantages. With this much information, you can answer the advantages and disadvantages. I will take you to the answer quickly. Before that, go through this. Workbook references. Chapter 8, Valuation of Accusation. You need to know how to value accusation. Please go through your chapter 8. Not chapter 8, I'm sorry. It has to be chapter 9. Right? And chapter 9 and 10. So basically you have to go through chapter 9, 10 and 12. Chapter 9, 10 and 12. I'm sorry. Chapter 9 does not come. It's a mistake over there, printing mistake. It has to be 9, 10 and 12. Right? Because chapter 9, 10, 10 11, 12, these 4 chapters are for accusation. Chapter 11 will not come because they are talking about regulations of takeover, which is not asked in this question. So 9, 10 and 12. And top tips. Right? You need to use the scenario for the pros and the cons of the accusation. For part A, part B is only 5 marks, so don't spend too much of time here. Right? The PE ratio of the pure cash and the pure paper offer is fairly straightforward. Pure cash and pure paper. Pure paper means share, fully share. There is an offer where it's fully cash and fully share, and there is a mix of share and cash. So you should know that calculating PE ratio where it's purely cash or purely shares are very straightforward. So here you can score your easy marks. First try to attempt those. And in part C, 14 marks, right? You have to answer all the parts separately. You have to talk about the impact of the EPS, impact of gearings of all the 3 options. Also how much fund is required. All these things in one requirement itself you have to answer. Right? So easy marks. Candidates who focused on simpler bits, pure cash and pure paper would have able to access most of the marks in part B and C. Right? They are telling you how to score those easy marks. Now let's see how the marking scheme is. Reasons for accusation against 3-3. B, it's 1, 5, right? So 1 mark for EPS, 1 mark for PE ratio. Right? Now you'll be thinking, why EPS? Because the question originally asked you for PE ratio. That is because you need EPS. Without EPS, you cannot calculate PE ratio. I will tell you why when I start doing the calculations. I will tell you why you need EPS before you calculate PE ratio. You need EPS first. Otherwise, you cannot calculate PE ratio. This is the trick. This is the area where most students struggle. They try to calculate PE ratio directly from the figures given, which is not possible, right? So 1 mark for EPS, 1 mark for PE ratio, and other 3 marks for the 3 options. Total 5 marks. Part C, right? It is very important that you know, my dear students, how the marks are divided between each requirement. Otherwise, you will not be able to write the points. Even while you are practicing, you need to make sure that you know how many points exactly you have to write. Even while practicing, during your practice, you might be practicing, right? Writing mocks, past papers. Please make sure that you know what are the how many marks are allocated for each specific requirements. Don't just look at that whole 14 marks and think that you have to come up with 14 points. No, that 14 marks is divided into different requirements under one requirement. So first 2 marks are given for what? Funding, right? You need extra finance. 1 mark for cash option, 1 mark for mixed option. Now you need to be very careful. Why? Okay, since I have read the case study, let me tell you. There are 3 options. One is purely cash, one is purely shares, and the other one is mix of share and cash. So now they are saying 1 mark for cash option, 1 mark for mixed option, that is share and cash. But why not share option? Why not 1 mark for share option, like fully share? That is because it is common sense. When you go for share, you don't need any finance, right? Everything is on paper. No cash is taking place. Cash is not changing. Cash is with you only. Cash remains with you only. Even if you're acquiring, you're just taking the share. You are giving your shares to take some of their shares, but you're not having cash. So when cash is not changing hands, no need to worry about finance. You don't need further finance for the accusation. That's why fully share option is not here. So that's how 2 marks comes here. First 2 marks comes there. Let me put a tick mark. Now let's go to the second one, the 5 marks. Earnings per share. 1 mark for share option. 2 marks for cash option. 2 marks for mixed option. Now here, when you calculate EPS, then you have to calculate the share option. Don't forget that. There you have to calculate. Only for the finance required you don't need, but for others, gearing and EPS you need. Gearing is straightforward, 1 mark for each option. This is straightforward. Comments is 4 to 5 marks. That is also this thing. Okay. Earnings per share. 2 marks for cash option, 2 marks for mixed option. Right? And 1 mark for share option. We'll see why more marks are for cash and mixed option, but only 1 mark for share option. When we go through the case study, you will understand. So total 14 marks. Now, let me first go through part A. Right? It's easy. We can quickly go through it. I have to take you through the answer so that I can point you some points where you need to focus more on. See, whenever you're given a question where you have to write advantages and disadvantages, it might seem easy, right? Because you might have memorized list of advantages and disadvantages. But when it comes like this, a question like this from his point of view, that point of view is very difficult to answer, trust me. That's why I'm taking you through this answer. I thought I will omit this answer and I will tell you to read by yourself and I will just do the calculation part, but no, it's very important. It's equally important that you focus on your theory part. Okay, so advantages of accusation, different paragraphs, very important. The 5 or how many like 3 advantages, make sure that you write in 3 different paragraphs. Here it is more because here therefore you can learn some of the points for your learning purpose. More points you know, better it is for you, right? So let me read the advantages. Let me tell this is L, okay, L&T company. L&T company appear to be a good strategic fit for a number of reasons. So first they are saying that they are good strategic fit for a number of reasons. Now let's see what are those reasons. L company appears to have a limited potential for further growth. We saw that growth was not growing. The growth is slow. Growth in profit is slow in L company, right? Limited potential for future growth. Acquiring TDET company, how it will help? Because this company is having a strong growth profit, right? So acquiring TDET company, a company with a better recent growth, should hopefully give L the impetus to grow more quickly. So this is one advantage. Briefly, it is told in one paragraph. First, you are saying the limitation of L company. Then you are saying why acquiring TDET company will help L company in this situation. Now let's go to the second paragraph. Acquiring a company which has a specialism in the area of online testing. Who is the leader in the online testing? T company, TDET company. The target company is leader in the online testing. Right? So he is specialized in the area of online testing. Will give L company capabilities quicker than developing this function in-house. Right? So how it will help L company? By acquiring, they can develop this function quicker than if they have to go for in-house. If they have to develop the online testing in-house, it will take more time. But by acquiring a company who is already leader in online testing, now you can develop it quicker. So that is the advantage. If they are also now showing, if L does not move quickly, it risks losing contracts to its competitors. That means they are saying that if they are not quick enough to acquire the TDET company, the competitor might take over the TDET company and they might gain that advantage, right? So this is second advantage. Now let's go to the third advantage. Acquiring TDET company will give L company access to the abilities of some of the directors who have led to become a successful company. Now if you see the third point paragraph, it is explained in more detailed, right, compared to the other two. Why is that? Because in the third point they told that it is because of the abilities of some of the directors that TDET company has been successful. Is it so? We need to check. We don't know. But they're just saying, assuming, right? So they will provide continuity. They told, right? The five former founders, they will support, they will be there even after accusation, right? It was there. So they will provide continuity and hopefully will help integrate TDET company's operations successfully into Louieed company. They may be able to lead the upgrading of TDET company's existing products or the development of new products, which ensures that Louieed company retains a competitive advantage. If you write this much, right? If you write this much is enough. You don't need to write more, because even in the under the exam condition, you will not be able to write so much. So this is your third advantage. You can integrate successfully because of the directors. But let's see what they have written just for understanding. It appears that TDET companies directors now want to either realize the investment to be a part of a larger company, possibly because it will have more resources to back further product development. Okay, so if Louieed does not pursue this opportunity, one of the Louieed competitors may purchase TDET company. Again, they are saying the same issue. If they don't purchase, competitor will purchase and acquire competitive advantage itself. Right? All these things you don't need to write. If you cannot, like if you have time, sure you can go ahead and write. In fact, I advise you that you write more if you have the time, but it has to be under the time constraint, right? If you don't have time, no need to write all this. Just stop where your point ends. You don't keep on elaborating it. Now the last, okay, there may also be other synergistic benefits. So this is the fourth benefit. This you don't need to write. Don't do this mistake. If they told you to write 3, you have to write 3 only. Don't go and write 4. Even if there are 4 points, or 4 points, or 5 points, don't write more. Writing more will not give you extra marks. In fact, you are wasting your time writing that extra point and explaining where you could have Spend that time somewhere else and gain marks, right? Don't write less. If it's for 3, write 3 points, not 2, not 4, just 3. Stick with that. Including, okay, what are the synergic benefits? Including savings and staff cost, right? Of course, staff cost will be saved because they're the same line of business, right? So they might be having the same knowledge, same skills. So one staff can be used for both. You don't need to use two separate staff. Other savings when two companies merge. This you don't have to write if you're writing the other three, right? So out of this four, you can write any three. Now let's go to the disadvantages. With this also is same, three, right? So it is not known what cost of developing in-house capabilities will be. We don't know what are the cost of developing in-house. Although the process may be slower, right? Even though the process is slower, right, of developing in-house, the online testing, if you want to develop in-house for Louieed company, even though this process is slower, they are saying that the cost may be less and the process less disruptive to flavor than suddenly adding on TDED company's operation. It is still, they are saying it is less costly than going for an accusation. So this is first disadvantage, right? Cost may be less and process less disruptive than this one, even though the process may be slower. Second disadvantage, it is not possible to tell which of the TDED company's directors are primarily responsible for its success. You cannot tell out of the five who is primarily responsible. How can you tell that because of this director? You cannot assign like that. It's very hard to tell which director, right? So loss of the three directors. There has been loss of three directors. Why? Because out of the five directors, only two will join. The other three are not going to join. That was later there in that case study. We haven't read the case study full, but it's okay. When you read, you can read the case study full and then answer this question, right? So they have clearly mentioned that the out of five, only two directors will join. They will work after the company merge, but the other three directors, they will not. So because of that, there are loss of three directors, right? Which may well present a significant loss of his capability. This will enhance if the three directors join a competitor of L or set up in competition themselves, right? If the problem will arise if they go and join the competitor of L. So this is the second disadvantage. Third disadvantage, there is no guarantee that the directors who remain will fit into L's culture. This is the third advantage. They're talking about culture. See, if you are asked this type of question, don't just generally write it's hard to uh, the culture, right? Culture issues or cultural problem. Don't just write cultural problem and finish it off. This is how you need to explain how it's going to affect the culture. Why? Because there's no guarantee that the directors who remain will fit into the culture. Their culture might be different, right? They are used to working in a less formal environment and may resent having else way of operating imposed upon them. Because if you have read it properly, T company was a less, it is a smaller listed company, whereas L company is a big listed company. So there's a difference of the size. Because of that, L company works in a more formal environment compared to T company, which is the target company, right? So they are working in a less formal environment. So they may resent. This could result in departure after the accusation, jeopardizing the value which TDED has bought, right? Possibly, TDED's leadership in the online testing market may not last. So this is the fourth disadvantage they are saying. But you only have to write three. Let's see what is the fourth one. They could leave the leadership, right? In the online testing may not last. Nothing lasts forever. Everything has a deadline, right? What has worked yesterday might not work today. what works today might not work tomorrow, right? So you need to be careful about that too. If competitors do introduce major advances, this would mean that TDET's current growth is not sustainable, right? Now, that's it for part A. Now let's go to part B. Again, I will go to the requirements of part B. Calculate the PE ratio of TDET company implied by the terms of Louieed's initial and proposed offers for all of the three above options. Now I have to read this case study in full to answer that. I have stopped here. Louieed's initial bid of 5 shares in L for 3 shares in TIT company was rejected by TIT's board. It was rejected. There has been further discussion between the two boards since the initial offer was rejected, and L's board is now considering a proposal to offer TIT's companies 2 shareholders in L for 1 share in TIT, or a cash alternative of 22.7. So there's a cash alternative of 22.75 per TIT share, or 2 shares in L for 1 share in TIT company. This is a proposed offer. It is expected that TIT shareholders will choose one of the following options. Let's see what are the 3 options. To accept 2 shares for 1 share offer for all of the TIT shares, to accept cash offer for all of the TIT shares, or 60% of shareholder will take up 2 shares for 1 share offer. That is, 60% of shareholders will take share for share and remaining 40% will take cash offer. That is a mixed, right? The third one is mixed and it's a bit confusing also. It has more workings to do there. Now, in the case of the third option being accepted, it is thought that 3 of the company's founders holding 20% of the share capital in total. Holding how much? 20% of the share capital in total will take the cash offer and not join the combined company. We have even told also in the disadvantages, right? 3 of them are losing. And the remaining 2 founders will probably continue involved in the business and be members of the combined company's board. L Company's finance director has estimated that the merger will produce annual post-tax synergies of 20 million. So annual post-tax synergy, this is the synergy they have calculated as 20 million. So the good thing is you don't have to calculate the synergy value here. It is already calculated. So don't go and try to calculate synergies, right? Most of you, whenever an acquisition question is given, what you do is you calculate the value of the target company plus the value company of the acquired company, add, and then you find the value of the combined company, find the difference, and you get the synergy. That's not what you have to do. If you have been doing it, you have been wasting your time and throwing away those 5 marks. Simple is just 5 marks. Remember that. Right? So synergy is given, don't calculate synergy. He expects else companies current price earnings ratio to remain unchanged after the acquisition. So even after the acquisition, the PE ratio remain unchanged after acquisition. Very important, because you need to calculate PE ratio after acquisition. Right? Extracts from the 2 companies' most recent accounts. Profit before finance cost and tax, finance cost, profit before tax, tax, profit after tax have been given of both the companies. Issued nominal shares has been given to you. PE ratio based on most recent accounts of both companies is given. Long-term liabilities at market value is given. Cash and cash equivalent is given. Tax rate applicable to both companies 20%. So tax is 20%. Assume that L can obtain further debt funding at a pre-tax cost of 7.5% and that the return on cash surplus is 5% pre-tax. It is pre-tax, mind you, you have to adjust it for tax, right? And why this debt cost of debt is given to you? That cost of debt is given to you because you need to find the interest, right? Why interest? Because you need finance for acquisition. Whenever you need finance for acquisition, that means basically you might not have enough cash, you might have to go for a loan. So because of that loan, you have to pay interest, and that interest will attract tax relief, right? It's a debt, right? So that's why you need that this this cost of debt is needed that time. Now, I'm sure most of you will be confused, but it's okay. When we go to the calculation part, I will tell you how we can use all this 7.5% and 5%. Assume also that any debt funding needed to complete the acquisition will be reduced instantly by the balances of cash and cash equivalent. That means when you go for funding, you first have to take this balance out, and the remaining balance will be the extra finance which you need after deducting cash and cash equivalent. It is given here, and this assumption has been given to you, right? Held by L and T debt company, both company. Now you have to calculate the PE ratio of whom. You need to know of whom you are calculating. Don't go and calculate L company's PE ratio, right? You have to calculate the PE ratio of the T debt company in all the scenarios of T debt company. They didn't ask the PE ratio of the Louieed company. So now first I will take you through the answer, but I'm not going to read the answer. I'm going to do my own calculations, because this, if you look at it, just have a glance at it and just tell me, do you understand anything or not, or is it very confusing? Right? It's very confusing, right? This, by at first when you look where this 296 came, where this value of Louis share is coming into picture, is very confusing. They haven't told you from where the steps are taken, from where we have to calculate. What is the starting point? See, your starting point from where you calculate is the main key to AFM. Whenever you start a calculation, you need to know where to start from, because once you know where to start from, you know how to end it. You will know how to end it. You know what you are looking for. You are looking for PE ratio, but to look at PE ratio, first you need to start from where? That is the question, right? I'm going to do my just next to this itself, so that you can compare my working and the working they have done. What do you need to do? You need to calculate the PE ratio. But first, when you need to find I'm not going to read this answer at all. I'm just showing you at glance. I will do my workings, and then you can compare with the workings whether my one is more better or not, right? You need to first find at original, the one which was rejected at that bit, what is the PE, price earning ratio, right? So I'm going to write TDET company, okay, TDET company PE, TDET company PE ratio by original, that means the one which was rejected, original bid, right? What do we need to calculate the price earning ratio? What is the method? Method is price per share. I'm writing the formula. It's very important that you write the formula, then only you will understand why we are using this figure. Earnings per share, right? You need to know this. Do we know the price per share? Do we know the price per share? Or do we know the earnings per share? This is why I have told you. Now do you understand why we need this? Now do you know why we need this EPS, earnings per share, to calculate the PE ratio? right? You need this two, price per share, earnings per share. Now I will take you through this. That's that question. Okay. Okay. Here they told what was the initial offer? Initial bid of 5 shares in L for 3 shares in TID company. Right? So this I will write here. The initial bid I will write here in bracket. 5 shares of L, right? For 3 shares in T. I need to reduce the width of my pen, right? So 5 shares of L for 3 shares in T. Remember this. Now, let me take you to this table. You need this table. Price per share. You are given the number of shares. You are given the number of shares, but you are not given the price per share. You are not given the price per share anywhere. Are we given the earnings per share? No, we are not given the earnings per share. So that means first we have to calculate both separately first to calculate the PE ratio. Right? We need to calculate the price per share over earnings per share. That means first you need to calculate. What do you need to calculate? Price per share. Right? So let me do it. This I'm leaving a space here right now because once we do the working then we'll do it. Okay, so price per share equal to, first we are calculating the price per share. How we are calculating the price per share? We have to find for the traded company, right? Now to find for the traded company, first you have to find for the L company. To find for the traded company, first you have to find the L company. Price per share, right? Price per share of L, that is Louieed's company, L's company. First you need to find L's company. Why? Why is that? Because of this ratio. 5 of 5 shares in L for 3 shares in date company. First we need to find the value of 1 share in L company to find the value of the traded company shares, right? 5 shares in L, that means first we have to find the value of 1 share in L. To find that, we just have to use this table, right? What is the formula for total market value? Total market value, if you have to find out, that is your earnings, right, multiply by your PE ratio. This is your total market value, right? So earnings multiply by PE equal to number of shares multiply by price per share. Because anyway, number of shares multiplied by price per share is your market value, right? Total market value. Both are same. Both the side has to be equal. Your earnings into PE ratio or your number of shares into price per share. It means the same only. Total market value also. Earnings we have. What is the earnings of Louieed? It is this. This always profit after tax is your earnings. You have to take this figure, right? So your earnings is 296 multiplied by price earnings ratio is 14. It is here. Even here they have told that after accusation it will remain unchanged. So you can just take 14. This is why first we have to find the L. Why? Because we know that the price earning ratio of L after accusation is also 14. That's why we cannot start with T-dot company. That's why this is not straightforward. First we have to find for L, then only we can find for T. Because we are given the ratios 5:3. Using that ratio we can find for T, right? So because for price earning ratio, earnings, right? This is how you have to start. For price earning ratio, PE, price per share divided by earnings per share. Price per share, we don't know, we have to find out. How we are going to find price per share? This is this one. This component we need to find, right? And you are given the figure. Earnings per share, right? So you have to use your earnings. How can you use your earnings? Whenever your earnings and PE ratio is there, right? You have to multiply both. That will be your total market value. So number of shares is how much? What is the number of share? 340 million. This is the number of shares, right? $340 million. Multiply by price of share. Let's take it as Y. Use algebra. We don't know the price per share. To find Y, it is very easy. 296 multiply by 14 divide by 340. Now can you find Y? Y is what? Y is the price per share. $12.99. Sorry, $12.19. You have been looking for this price per share. So now I know that my price per share is 12.19. Dollar, always use dollar sign. 12.19 is the price per share, but it is for L company. You have to find for T company, right? So price per share of T company. How you are going to use? This is the value. See this $12.19 is the value of one share of L company. Now you are giving 5 shares of TL company for 3 shares of T. That means this has to be multiplied by, this is for one share, right? So the 5 shares you have to multiply by 5. Just look at the original offer. 5 shares of L multiply by 5, right? Divided by 3. Because 3 shares in T. So you will get it dollar. Let me double underline because these are the answers. 20.32. So this is the value of price per share of T company. Now what we have to get? We have got the price per share. Now we need to find the earnings per share, right? What is T company's earnings per share? This is the denominator you're finding. EPS. That means your earnings divided by your share. Right? What is your earnings? What is the T company's earnings? Let's go to the T company. This side, right side. Earnings is 128 and share is 90. That means 128 divided by 90. That is your earnings per share of T company. So dollar 128 million divided by 90 is equal to dollar 1.42. This is your EPS. Now can we find the PE ratio? We have got the price earnings ratio. What is the price earning ratio? 20.32 divided by, can we find the earnings per share? It is 1.42. Just now we calculated it. Now can you tell me what is the PE ratio? This is why whenever you are given a ratio or any type of calculation, always write the formula and then break that formula to the numerator part and the denominator part and start calculating. You will, if you are not given directly how to calculate, right? So it is, both of this are in dollar. So your PE ratio will not be in dollar, right? Your PE ratio will be in a number. 14.3. This was your answer, main answer, PE ratio of the original bit. Now we have to find. So I am marking this as 1. This is my answer 1. All the rest are workings, right? This I will label it as working 1. This I will label it as working 2. This I will label it as working 3. So can you see I used 3 workings to find that 1 PE ratio of the original bit. Now under the 3 scenarios you need to find the PE ratio, right? So shall I use a different pen? I think it will be easy, right? I think I should use a different pen so that you don't get confused. What say? Okay, I will use a different pen here. Let me use blue here now, so that you know that this is a different, so that you don't get confused, right? TDET companies PE ratio, right? If the TDET shareholders take up the share offer, if share offer, I'm not writing the whole sentence, right? If share offer, that means wholly share, they are taking up the share, that is 2:1, right? Then what will be the PE ratio? Now, since you know the price per share and you know the earnings per share of the TDET company, you can calculate the PE if they take up all the share. But here you need to do the calculation. A little bit calculation is required. Let me go up and show you what is it. Here they told that to accept 2 shares for 1 share of all of the traded company's share, right? to do this calculation that how many shares, this is also a quite confusing area where most of the students struggle, right? How to calculate the number of shares. This is also needs a little working. I will show you that little working here. They are saying two. Okay, let me put this. I always do this working, by the way, when it's share for share exchange. Small working T and L. I'm sorry, L and T, right? L and T. L is with T is T dot. 2:1. This is the ratio, right? Two of this one for one share. And now, what is the price per share of L company? It is this. It is this 12.19. 12.19 if you take, it is for one share. But for two shares, how much will it be? Because two shares of L is equal to, will be one share of T, right? So this you have to multiply by 2, because one share of L is 12.19, but two shares of L will be 12.12 into 2, which will be equal to one share of T company. This, right? This is your price per share. Price per share of T debt, right? By the way, this is for T debt, 12.19 into 2. Divide by earnings per share. What is earnings per share of T? It is 1.42. 1.42. So the PE ratio will be equal to 17.2, double underline, right? Now, traded company by having a mixed. For this, I will use a different color. Which color should I use? Purple? Okay, let us use purple. So I'm T company's PE ratio, right? If mixed offer, what is that mixed offer? Share and cash. If mixed offer. Now, if it is mixed offer, you need to be careful here. First, let's work out the cash part and then let's work out the share part, right? What is the cash part? Cash part they told here, right? It is 22.5. Cash alternative of 22.75 per TDED company share. That means for one TDED company share, 22.75. That is for cash. And cash is what? 40% is cash and 60% is 241. That is 60% is share for share, and 40% is cash. So now we have to use that percentage as well. Right? So first let's take the cash. Dollar 22.75. Whatever you're taking on the numerator is your price per share. Whatever comes in the denominator is your EPS, earnings per share. And mind you, your earnings per share will remain same. It will not change. Right? Because earnings has nothing to do with all these changes in share for share or cash. only your price per share will change. So that's why your numerator will change, but your denominator will remain 1.42 only. So 22.75, this is cash. Cash is 40%, they will accept cash. And this again, I need to add with the share part because it's share and cash. Dollar. How much one share? 12.19. Multiply by 2 because 2 shares of L for 1 share of T. That's why 12.19 into 2. Into, that is 60%, that's why 0.6. Right, 60% they will take share for share. Now this whole thing needs to be divided by EPS. What is earnings per share? 1.42. Just check. This one is 1.42. This point is 1.42. This one is 1.42. Every numerator is 1.42 only. It will remain 1.42 only. Now this is 16.7, double underline, because that is the answer. Now for the cash offer, it's very easy. I'm taking a different color. I will take green. Right? T companies PE ratio if cash offer. If cash offer. Right? So if cash offer, what is it? They told it is $22.75 per share divided by earnings per share, which will be 1.42 only, which will be equal to 16.0. Yeah. So now just check all the 4 price earning ratio. You should have 4 PES, price earning ratio. 12.19. I'm sorry, not 12.19. 14.3, 17.2, 16.7, and 16. There are 4 price earning ratio you should have, under 3 and under the original, the rejected bit. So you can see this I will label it as 2, this I will label it as 3, this I will label it as 4. So that's it for price earning ratio, right? Wait till my next video, right? My next video I will be discussing part C, right? There's a part 2 of this video. There I will be discussing only part C. Now why I'm taking a separate video for part C is because part C is very lengthy, right? It might take around 45 minutes, 40 to 45 minutes or even more. It's pretty long. It might even take 1 hour also. So till then, make sure that you have if you haven't understood this working of mine, you can comment me below. I will come to you and I will explain you, right? You can connect me to my Gmail, to my Instagram, to my Facebook. And now, one thing that you have to do is just compare my working with this working. Not part C, just this part B, and see which one is easier. Can you understand anything? Here everything is just given in lines, right? But they haven't told. It's very confusing when you look at it, right? So hope that this would have helped you, and if this helped you, right, if this has helped you, please don't forget to share this with your friends so that they can get benefit, right? It's not that everyone watches my video. Not all your friends might have subscribed to my channel. Make them subscribe to my channel so that they can get this video firsthand, right? And you also don't forget to share so that they can get the benefit out of it. Thank you.